Hey guys, what is up? Today we're going to be looking at all the new major POIs we're going to be adding in Season 6. The first spot that we're going to be looking at that big changes are coming to is this empty lava field over to the east of Dome. So they're going to be changing into something called Launch Site. In the trailers, it's where the rocket launch. Sadly, it's not going to be playable, but here's what the Apex website has to say about it. So, Hammond Industries continues to take over World's Edge. They're up to something, nefarious I'm sure. The launch site can be found to the west of Dome in a previously unoccupied lava field. The giant rocket ship stands above the center of this new point of interest, and can be seen towering over the mountains from as far away as refinery. This new drop location has 4 large control rooms and holds a ton of loot. Many squads should feel comfortable landing here, spreading out, and pushing across the raised catwalks, lava field train to be the last team standing. So I think this should be a pretty cool new POI. It looks like there's some different features. Looks like you can go into this back wall over here. Should be overall just interesting and fun place to fight compared to this just open lava field. Okay, near launch site they opened up a new rotation area through the mountains so you can get over to a tree and not be trapped over in that area. So now we're going to move over on to Countdown. So this is where drill site previously was, as you guys can see. Okay, this is what it looks like. Okay, so drill site has been replaced with Countdown, another large Hammond facility with a mysterious purpose. The design of this POI is an imposing fortress with a tall perimeter, complete with 3 giant blast walls, we'll talk about this later, that can be activated to raise and dynamically fortify the approach from Skyhook, Lava Fissure, and Train Yard. The large control room stands apart with a deep center pit. The pit can be opened to allow access to better loot, but this is a dangerous honeypot overlooked on all sides, so make sure you control this area before going in it. Okay, one thing about this, as you guys can see, there's this big hole in the ground. It's really similar to the loot bunkers on Kings Canyon, so this would be a super dangerous area, just dropping in there and maybe getting ambushed from above. Okay, so next POI that they're adding is something called Staging. It's where underneath the Mirage Voyage there was that little town that you could go loot. There was a decent amount of loot. There were 3 buildings with some supply bins in the middle. So this is now what it's going to be looking like. It's called Staging. So it's a new Hammond facility. So Staging is a smaller POI, but lands in the nexus of a heavily traveled area in the center of the map. This new drop location replaces a small town that used to sit directly below the train tracks to the east of Harvester. It should now provide much more interesting fights, as well as significantly more loot. Instead of a small town in the center of a low pit, the design pushes players to get to the raised edge of this area, utilizing 2 more of the rising walls to connect to the train tracks across the gap. Resting train cars provide more cover along the tracks, as well as high connections across the center to fight the control room. We also see that Mirage Voyage is actually gone, so the lore is that Mirage took his personalized ship away from World's Edge, and they say for now, so we might see a return maybe mid-season or in a later season, so be on the lookout for that. Okay, as I mentioned before, I mentioned blast walls, so this is what it's going to look like. This is just another view of that little town that I was just talking about. So these are blast walls right here. They don't go into a lot of deep detail, but they look like there will be something that can rise up and get you high ground. But what the Apex website has to say is, the rising walls are a new map mechanic added to World's Edge and can be found in Launch Site, Countdown, and Staging. Activating a wall panel will start the giant blast wall to rise, creating a defensive platform and permanently fortifying the position of whichever team was lucky enough to control it first. Okay, but that sounds really overpowered, but they're saying that if you find yourself attacking one of them that is being defended, there are plenty of pathways to the bottom or around the position. And if you're Pathfinder or someone who can get height, you can always fly right over it or push up to the top. As it stands now, a lot of people don't drop Survey Camp because there aren't a lot of rotations that you can go to. You can't really go to Skyhook or any of the bigger spots, but they're changing that with adding this new Survey Camp Skyhook cut through. So as you guys can see, it's just like a big hole through the mountain that gets you over near Skyhook, so more people will drop Survey Camp so they can rotate to better positions. Okay, a pretty large change this season is they're getting rid of train. So instead of having the train, they're seeing it as their big choke points through these tunnels. So now that they're adding these little spots in the tunnels. So the single change helped us achieve one of our goals of providing more rotational options through some particularly scary choke points. Nearly all the tunnels that used to be clear for the train, and they were almost never used because it was only for the train, now have static train cards and other cover, as well as some small amounts of loot. So basically it's making it so instead of just being stuck in those open spots, there are places to hide. And as you guys can see in the corner, it looks like there's going to be a jump tower coming out of these different spots. Okay, and also over by Mirage, where this little town is, to provide more rotation options, they added in a new geyser, as well as a new jump tower. So as you guys can see, this is what it's going to look like once Mirage is gone. So all these houses used to be covered up by snow from the Mirage Voyage. They're now open. It looks like there are more spots over there. And there are a bunch of other small changes, so when we get into Season 6, you guys can check all those out. These videos take quite a while to put together, so if you enjoyed, make sure to share with your friends, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.